Russia and Ukraine have been fighting it out on the battlefield for over 3 long, bloody years. But the beginning of the war can be traced back 8 years prior, when Russia seized a small, yet important territory from its neighbor and set the stage for the larger invasion to come. Crimea, a peninsula in the Black Sea that borders Russia and Ukraine, is highly coveted as a strategically significant territory by the two countries, so much so that Russia has spent centuries fighting for it. Its history as a Russian asset dates as far back as the 18th century, in 1783, when Russian Empress Catherine the Great absorbed the peninsula from the Ottoman Empire into her own, along with the majority of the ethnic Ukrainian territory. Shortly after, a base was established in Sevastopol, a major port city in Crimea, increasing their control and naval power in the Black Sea. The peninsula then became the main battleground of the Crimean War, changing hands back to the French and English-backed Ottomans in 1856. Nearly 500,000 people died in the conflict. After changing hands several times during the Russian Civil War starting in 1917, the territory eventually became part of the Soviet Union in 1921, which it would remain a part of until 1954, when it was given to the then Soviet Republic of Ukraine by the Soviet Union's leader, Nikita Khrushchev, a Ukrainian himself. After the Soviet Union's collapse in 1991, Crimea remained part of Ukraine, a newly independent country. However, Russia's Black Sea Fleet continued to operate from its base in Sevastopol, which it leased from Ukraine. In early 2014, 60 years after Crimea officially became part of Ukraine, the country saw itself in a pivotal moment of political turmoil and civil unrest. Mass protests and violent clashes were sparked by Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych's decision to back out of a widely supported trade deal with the EU, instead opting for closer ties with Russia. On February 22nd of 2014, Yanukovych was ousted from power, and a new interim government was installed. Russian President Vladimir Putin has claimed that that same night he called an emergency meeting to discuss the extradition of Yanukovych to Russia. I invited the leaders of our special services and the defense ministry to the Kremlin and set them the task of saving the life of the president of Ukraine, who would simply have been liquidated. When we were parting, I told all my colleagues, we are forced to begin the work to bring Crimea back to Russia. It was at this moment that Russia decided to make its move. Colloquially called Little Green Men, seized the autonomous Republic of Crimea and Sevastopol. No blood was shed during the quick operation. Crimea's prime minister was replaced by Sergei Aksyonov, a Russian politician, and on March 18th, the peninsula was formally annexed by Russia, following a referendum called by Putin, which sparked international outrage. The illegal move by Russia caused its relations with the West to tumble to levels not seen since the Cold War. It would only get worse when Putin would go on to invade Ukraine in 2022. In Russia, however, the annexation led to high approval ratings for Putin and a surge of patriotism from citizens who believed that Crimea was at its heart Russian. Since the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Crimea has been used by Russia as the launch point of missile and drone attacks, and its strategic position in the Black Sea has also been utilized by Russia to block off Ukraine's ports and cause a significant blow to the country's economy. Over the course of the war, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has vehemently dismissed ceding territory to Russia as a means to end the conflict. Whereas before the war, he relied on diplomacy to try to regain Crimea for Ukraine, he has since employed drone strikes on strategically important targets in the region, including the bridge connecting Crimea and Russia, which Ukraine has attacked 3 times during the conflict. Now, as President Trump seeks to find resolution between Russia and Ukraine, the peninsula is top of mind. Should Russia and Ukraine enter negotiations, what becomes of Crimea may very well alter the fate